signs and solutions of low testosterone levels over the age of 40. I'm Coach Ábris, founder of Demi Cycle Protocol, and we helped over 50 high performers and corporate executives over the age of 40 and 50 permanently fix their testosterone levels, double their natural energy levels, get below 15% body fat sustainably, and get in the best shape of their life without having to count calories or train more than 2 to 3 hours per week. So, how does this happen, and what are the signs that you might take advantage of such an endeavor to increase your testosterone levels and to permanently get into shape and the energy levels, the optimal functions that you want to be in? Alright, so if you happen to be a man over the age of 40 or even 50, you might have noticed that you don't have the same motivation or the same drive or the same libido as you used to have it before. For example, in your 20s, early 30s, right? It's not the same drive anymore. So today I want to walk you through the most common signs that you might have low testosterone if you don't happen to test it, or if you haven't done a blood work yet. You can easily identify this for yourself, and what are the optimal solutions that will get you to high testosterone levels. So just relatively, what do we call low, what do we call high? The standards for testosterone levels are highly different, and they keep pushing it lower and lower and lower. Basically, today the average man has lower testosterone levels than, for example, 60-year-old man in the 70s. So for example, if you happen to be a middle-aged man right now, your dad probably at your age had much higher testosterone levels than you have right now. I would say the lowish range around 200 or 300 nanograms per deciliter, and we can talk about higher testosterone levels around the neighborhood of 800 to 1200, right? And everything in between, let's say that's the middle. Unfortunately, the middle is not the average. Average levels are closer to the lower end nowadays. But how can you identify this without having to do a blood work, right? So, first of all, you will notice that you have a lower libido in general. And if you have a lower libido, you know, your sex drive decreases, your erections are not that strong, you can't sustain them that long, you're not lasting long in bed, your sex life suffers. So this is an obvious example and an obvious sign that you can see in primary male characteristics, right? Another thing that you might have low testosterone is that you start developing the so-called man boobs, or some people call it bitch tits or whatever. It's not exactly gynecomastia, you don't have to grow like female breast tissue, but if you notice your chest taking up a weird shape, being a little bit pushed out to the side, having puffy nipples or stuff like that, that means that your testosterone levels are low. Meanwhile, your estrogen levels are high. Estrogen is a stress hormone and primarily like female hormone, right? So if your cortisol, the primary stress hormone, and your estrogen, the primary female hormone and also stress hormone, levels are high, you are highly likely to develop man boobs and probably gynecomastia later on, which means that you also develop a breast tissue that you definitely don't want to have. Another sign is that you keep accumulating more and more visceral body fat. This is what we call beer belly, right? So there are two types of fat in your body. One of them is the subcutaneous fat, the fat mass that you have below your skin. It's okay to maintain like a healthy level of body fat, right? So for example, the body composition I'm having right now, try to always keep that between 10 to 15% body fat for optimal hormonal functions. But what you can see on me primarily, especially if you look at the sign, this is subcutaneous body fat, right? But if you have low testosterone, your body tends to accumulate more and more visceral body fat. And visceral body fat is what you have under your abdomen. So here are your abs, here is your wall of core muscles, and under the core muscles, surrounding your organs, there's a layer of visceral, so internal body fat. And the problem with that is that it might damage your organs, it's pretty harmful, and it carries the risks of further health complications later on. So you definitely don't want that. Low testosterone is endangering your life, either directly or indirectly. It doesn't really matter, but if it is a risk factor for you, then you definitely want to consider increasing your testosterone levels, and soon it will turn out how you will exactly do just that. But let's see what other signs do we have on our list. So, you feel that you can't really focus, you can't really concentrate. Some people call it brain fog, and if you suffer from brain fog, it's highly likely you have low testosterone and you want to get that fixed ASAP, right? Because then you can't really concentrate on your key business processes, your highest ROI activities, you can't really be present in any moment, and you can't really spend quality time with your loved ones. And you will also feel like it's hard to focus on work, it's hard to focus in the gym, it's hard to focus at home, and everything is kind of like falling apart. You constantly feel sluggish, tired, groggy, and you just lack the drive. So a drop in drive and motivation is also a sign of low testosterone, primarily coming from brain fog. So you lack the energy, you have man boobs, right? You grew a beer belly, you have low libido, you don't really feel like you're doing okay, you have brain fog. What else could be a sign? Well, low testosterone also impacts your decision-making skills, right? Not just the skills of decision-making, but how you actually make the decisions, right? So if you are too afraid to take calculated risks, if you tend to procrastinate, and it takes too long for you to make important decisions, that also means that you might have a low testosterone. You might want to check this out, or just simply you want to improve it with the natural methods that we will discuss in this video. So we might as well get into it right away. So I like to talk about 3 fundamentals and then the rest. So if you don't have the fundamentals in place, you don't have to care about the rest, because that means that you don't have to major in the minors. What I mean by that is that until you have the basic core habits in place, other things such as testosterone enhancing supplements won't really solve the problem for you. So here we also apply, just like in business, the 80-20 rule, right? Or 20-80 rule, whatever you call it. You can switch up the order. What really matters is that there is a certain 20% of your habits and systems in place that is responsible for 80% of your hormonal health, right? And everything else is just fluff until you have the fundamentals in place, right? So it's very important to remember that you don't primarily want to take Tongat Ali or any kind of testosterone enhancing supplements until you have the fundamentals of movement, protein, and sleep in place, right? So, but before we get into that, I just want to say that we at Demi Cycle Protocol only focus on natural solutions for increasing your testosterone levels and getting in shape, okay? Because many men over the age of 35, 40, when they feel like their testosterone levels are dropping, their business performance is not where it used to be, they can't really focus, their sex life is, well, kinda okay-ish, but could be better, right? Then what they do? They hop on TRT. So they hook themselves on a medication, so pinning testosterone every single week for the rest of their lives, just to keep it at a healthy level. I don't think that's too efficient, and none of my clients are doing that, so I'm a big believer of natural solutions. So let's start with the fundamentals: movement, protein, and sleep, right? So you definitely want to stay active, and you want to move every single day. I think your baseline, which is sustainable in the long term, should be 6,000 to 8,000 steps per day, and this by itself can improve your testosterone levels. But what really improves your testosterone levels, that aspect of movement, is high intensity training. So training intense in the gym, it doesn't have to be some kind of cardio stuff, high intensity interval training. I'm not talking about that. I'm just generally talking about lifting heavy or doing calisthenics with high intensity. So whatever form of movement, whatever form of resistance training you prefer. Just for the new ones here, resistance training is when you put your muscles against a certain type of resistance. It could be a weight, it could be your own body weight. You perform certain exercises, some sets and repetitions designed by your workout plan, right? And based on that, you give enough stimulus for your muscle groups to get stronger, develop themselves, and eventually grow. So you need to do resistance training 2 to 4 times per week, and you need to do this with high intensity. What does high intensity mean? It means that instead of pumping a hell lot of reps, I mean high reps are okay, but what you really want to focus on is not doing a shit ton of volume, so multiple dozens of sets per muscle group. You want to do a few sets, but as hard as possible, right? So you really want to squeeze the last bits of strength out of your muscle groups and muscle fibers, but you don't want to go until total failure, but you always want to approach it, right? So you want to balance out intensity with recovery. This is how I would say the optimal training works, or at least this is what worked for me and what works for dozens of my clients. So I guess it is a universal solution. By the way, it is, because millions of people around the world are training with high intensity, and this just works. And you don't have to train every single day, right? If you just go to the gym or work out at home 2 to 4 times per week with high intensity, you will be doing good, and this will drive up your testosterone levels. This will incentivize your body to produce more testosterone. Okay, let's talk about protein. Protein is the most important macronutrient for muscle mass and testosterone production. There are several studies that have already proven that higher protein consumption leads to higher testosterone levels in your body. And what does this also lead to, right? If you eat high protein, you train high intensity, you will gain muscle. And more muscle mass creates a supportive environment for lower body fat, because it takes more calories to maintain that muscle mass. And lower body fat creates the environment for higher testosterone. So everything is interconnected and everything is supporting each other, as long as you have the right systems in place, right? So you're training, you eat high protein foods, that drives up your testosterone levels. So as a result of this, you gain more lean muscle. With more lean muscle, your body fat percentage will be lower, which creates the ideal environment for more testosterone ultimately. So you can be all happy and an efficient, lean and energetic sex machine even in your 40s and 50s. I guess you would be happy about that. But let's not conclude on this one just yet, right? Because I've been talking about movement, protein, but let's talk about sleep, because this is the most neglected aspect of health, and this is what we optimize the most with Demi Cycle Protocol, because we have seen that, okay, many millions of men around the world are training hard. They are eating more or less well, right? 80% of their nutrition is coming from high protein, whole foods, all good, sorted. Millions are doing this. But most men are still neglecting their sleep. Either because they think that, okay, this takes time away from their business, or sleep is for the weak, or basically they just haven't developed those healthy sleep hygiene habits and that balanced circadian rhythm, so the sleep-wake cycle, that would support a high-quality sleep. So you might often feel groggy, sluggish, sleepy during the day. You might feel like that it's hard to push through, or you really have to push yourself just to get through your entire to-do list, and by the end of the day that you haven't gone through the to-do list, right? You haven't finished everything that you promised yourself you will finish. You feel a little bit stressed. You feel anxious. You go to bed late. This drives up your stress hormone, your cortisol levels. And as a result of that, you fall asleep much harder, and it takes you longer to fall asleep. Your sleep will be fragmented. You wake up in the middle of the night multiple times, right? And as a result of that, the next morning, again, you wake up crashed, you have low energy levels, and the whole cycle starts again, right? Because again, you're tired, you're sluggish, your to-do list doesn't get completed, your schedule is messed up, and it's just not optimal, right? And what's more, the less and the lower quality you sleep, and here I would always emphasize sleep quality instead of total sleep quantity. I have had clients who slept only 5 to 6 hours per night but got 91% sleep scores. Why? Because their sleep quality was high, and the time that they spent in the deep and the REM, rapid eye movement sleep phase, was relatively a high percentage compared to their total sleep time. So what really matters is how efficient your sleep is, how many times you're waking up, and how many hours or minutes you're spending in the most important sleep stages, namely the deep and the REM, the REM sleep, right? So you want to focus on deep sleep if you want high testosterone levels. So what you want to be sure about is that you have a solid pre-bed routine in place, a sleep protocol customized to your lifestyle, to your environment, and that you sleep in a quiet, cold and dark environment. So you might want to use blackout curtains. You might want to use a sleep mask. Is it comfortable? Well, easily. You can get used to it, right? And if that's what it takes for you to have higher energy and testosterone levels, then it's pretty easy to do, right? It's not rocket science. And the next thing, quiet doesn't necessarily have to mean silent. So you can just put on a white noise machine, rainfall sounds, 432 hertz, relaxation music, whatever is monotonous. Because this is what I mean by quiet, monotonous. Because silence is easily broken, but monotonity is not that much, right? If you have like a monotonous sound, calming sound in the background, that helps you to actually stay asleep. So you spend more time in the deep sleep phase, and as a result of that, you produce more testosterone, and it will be easier for you to stay energetic, burn more body fat, and build lean muscle. So it's very easy after a time. Okay, but what else you can do for your sleep? So I would highly recommend just drinking a cup of warm chamomile tea or valerian root tea before you go to fall asleep. About 30 minutes before bed. Magnesium glycinate is also very important and very helpful. And if you need help specifically with your deep sleep, I would recommend L-theanine and GABA. So both of these supplements help you greatly, specifically with your deep sleep and about the cool environment. Okay, let's not skip that. So ideally you want to sleep in a room between 60 to 67 Fahrenheit, so about 16 to 18 degrees Celsius. So if you can get that sorted, right, if you have a fan in your room or air conditioning or whatever, then you can create the perfect environment for you to sleep in, and that will result in higher deep sleep, and higher deep sleep will result in more testosterone produced by your body. So ultimately it will be easy for you to get energetic and lean for life. Okay, so now that we discussed the fundamentals of movement, protein and sleep, what is next? So there are little tricks and nuances and hacks that you can use for you to have higher testosterone levels, but only if you are at least 80% consistent with the first three: movement, protein and sleep, right? So a trick that I found useful and my clients found useful, and also several studies have proven all over the world, is that if you start your workout sessions or if you start your week with training your lower body, so namely your legs, quads, hamstrings, calves and glutes, then you will produce more testosterone. Training your legs releases more testosterone, and this will ultimately also help you developing your upper body. Let me explain how this works. So in your upper body there are more androgen receptors than in your lower body, which means that your upper body is more sensitive to higher testosterone levels. So if you have higher testosterone, it will be more visible on your upper body muscle development, namely your shoulders, your traps, your chest and your arms, right? So if you train your legs at the beginning of your workout, if you happen to train full body, or at the beginning of your week, if you happen to split up your training routine, that means that it will be easier for you to develop your upper body, because those androgen receptors in your upper body will pick up the testosterone, will react very well to it, which will result in muscle growth and the particular development of these mentioned areas, right? Okay, what else can you do? I would recommend spending at least 20 to 30 minutes under direct sunlight every single day, or taking vitamin D supplement, but natural sunlight is much better, because if your vitamin D levels are higher, your testicles are producing more testosterone. This has been proven countless of times before. Sunlight heals, and if you want to combine this with optimizing your sleep, I would recommend getting your at least 20 to 30 minutes of sunlight per day in before 10 a.m. because it helps you reset your natural sleep-wake cycles, the so-called circadian rhythm. So two birds with one stone, because if you sleep better, you have more testosterone, and if you spend time in the sunlight, you have more testosterone, and you will sleep better, so you will have more testosterone. So it gets easy when you get into the habit, right? Because this is an ultimate upwards spiral, right? It just keeps adding up. Okay, what else can you do before you start taking supplements? So I would highly recommend like competing and challenging yourself. I don't mean competing in a bodybuilding contest or in strength sports in general. Just be competitive. Go on challenges. Challenge your buddies, right? Who can do more push-ups? Who can do more pull-ups? Who can bench more? Whatever. Who can sprint faster? Who can run a mile in less time, right? So always challenge yourself. Challenge your buddies, right? Have this kind of competitive environment, because this also helps to keep your testosterone high. Okay. And what other habits are there that can ultimately increase your testosterone? So we've been talking about sunlight, we've been talking about starting the week with training legs, right? Challenging each other, but I would also recommend like taking more risks. And if you are watching this video, you know how to do that. You're already a high achiever, you're an entrepreneur or a corporate executive. You have taken plenty of risks in your life, so you know what I'm talking about. And ultimately, you will also notice that testosterone is the hormone that makes effort feel good. Alright, now we can talk about supplementation. So before you opt for all of these snake oils, you know, sold online, that this will double your testosterone levels and stuff like that, you want to acknowledge that first you want to fix your habits, you want to get the fundamentals in place, and then you want to incorporate the extra habits that I have mentioned, right? And if you have these in place, your testosterone should already be double or triple of what it used to be if you happen to have low testosterone before that. But of course, obviously there are certain supplements that can naturally increase your testosterone levels, and first I would prioritize the minerals, the micronutrients, and only then I would go for these magic herbs, right? And I would never touch like these complex testosterone enhancing supplements. Maybe there are like one or two in the market which are legit effective, and most of them are just gimmicks and, you know, mixing a couple of ingredients together, calling it like the super formula, and just selling it to you. It might work, might not, okay? Pretty sure there are amazing testosterone enhancing supplements on the market, but the thing is, they are not the most effective if you don't have your lifestyle in check, right? So supplementation is always the cherry on the top, not the cake itself, right? So bake your cake yourself, and after that use these different supplements to make it more optimal, to make it higher, but I don't think majority of you are needing it. However, there are certain minerals, there are certain micronutrients, for example, the vitamin D I have mentioned, that does have a massive effect on your testosterone levels. When it comes to minerals, I would primarily recommend zinc, about 20 to 40 milligrams per day, and boron, elemental boron, 3 to 6 milligrams per day. Zinc and boron are amazing for increasing your testosterone levels, your sperm count, your libido, and your overall life quality. Zinc also increases your ability to protect yourself against certain diseases. It strengthens your immune system. It's amazing. And if you don't want to take supplements, I would recommend eating oysters, steak, any kind of red meat, eggs, dairy. These are amazing sources of zinc. Alright? Also like these very dark chocolates, like 70% plus dark. Okay? Because you don't want too much sugars next to the cacao itself. Raw cacao is also amazing for testosterone. Alright, but what else do we have? What kind of supplements? So there are certain herbs and spices which do work, which really are effective for testosterone levels, have been shown by numerous studies how much they increase your testosterone levels. Of course, it varies individually, but if you are looking for like an extra 20 to 30% boost in your testosterone levels, you want to look for herbs like ashwagandha. I have tried it personally. I haven't notice too high testosterone increase. Of course, I'm young, I still have high testosterone levels and stuff like that. But what I did notice that it pushed down my cortisol. I was way less stressed. And the same that my clients are noticing, right? And if your cortisol levels are lower, it's easier to maintain high testosterone levels, right? So sometimes you don't want to be just like more masculine, you just want to be more stress-free, cultivating a low cortisol environment, right? And ashwagandha helps you with that. Okay, but ashwagandha is not the only supplement. Tuberculous terrestris, or we call it king melon in Hungary. But yeah, this also works. It is effective for improving your testosterone levels. Tongat Ali is also effective, but it might have some side effects on your gut health. For some people, it's not the most easily digestible, and it might have some toxicity. Okay, this is not medical advice. You have to try it out and experiment for yourself. Okay, pine pollen is also amazing for testosterone levels. And there are numerous other like herbs and spices. Garlic, for example, is also amazing for testosterone. But yeah, this is majority of that. This is what I could personally recommend. This is what I have recommended to my clients in the past. And if you're looking for like a good testosterone booster supplement, which has a decent formula and contains multiple of these herbs and whatever, you want to look for something which at least has zinc and boron in it. And beyond that, it's just an extra advantage if it has ashwagandha, Tuberculous terrestris, Tongat Ali, or any of these herbs and spices mentioned, right? But these are really not the most important. So you don't have to deal with any of these supplements if you don't have the fundamentals of movement, protein, and sleep in place, and if you don't cultivate the habits of spending time in sunlight, or taking vitamin D, or starting with leg workouts, lower body workouts, right? Taking risks, being competitive, right? So if you don't cultivate high testosterone and low cortisol, so high manliness, low stress environment, then it's going to be very difficult for you to maintain high testosterone levels, and the supplements won't be that effective. So if you want the supplements to work for you, first you have to work for a better lifestyle. And if you need help with that and you're a man over 40 and 50 and you have noticed a significant drop in your energy levels and your testosterone recently, your sex drive, your motivation, and you are not happy when you're looking in the mirror, and you want to change that this year, and you're ready to commit, you're ready to invest in your health, go to the description, book a free call with us, and we will craft up a game plan for you on how we would make this happen, how we would transform you into an unrecognizably great shape and energy levels in less than 6 months without having to count calories, having to take stimulants or sleep drugs, and without having to train more than 2 to 3 hours per week. If you are not ready to invest in your health, if you prefer to procrastinate, or your testosterone level is so low that you are afraid of making decisions, right? And your mindset is just not there, don't worry, just don't book a free call, don't waste each other's time. But in the meantime, you can watch my previous videos where I help you to get your mind in shape and to train that to a level where you will be ready to change your life for good in the fun and sustainable way, without restrictive dieting, without having to do keto, carnivore, vegan, low carb, or all of this bullshit, right? We are not restricting your diet, we're not prohibiting anything. We just help you get on the right track, and we are keeping you accountable. And if you generally like this video and enjoyed it, share this with your teammates, your colleagues, your employees, your family, your friends, whoever you could help out with higher testosterone levels. And thanks for watching. See you in the next one.